Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us on the #1 breakfast show in the country, Morning at NTV. Let's talk about COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccinations. Immunization as a primary healthcare intervention is now more important than ever in this COVID-19 pandemic period. Uganda received some 864,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from the COVAX facility on the 5th of March. So we want to get an update on what is happening now? How far with the COVID-19 vaccinations? I have Dr. Alfred Juwale. He is the Assistant Commissioner, that is Vaccines and Immunization at the Ministry of Health. A very good morning, Dr. Alfred.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me start with a general question. How have primary healthcare services like immunization been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic?
The immunization services were impacted when we were in lockdown. So during the time we had lockdown, it reduced immunization services significantly by about 21% in the month of April. But as the lockdown measures kept being lifted, progressively we saw the immunization services picking up, and as we speak, we are now at pre-COVID levels of our routine immunization services.
What progress have we made in the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine, Mr. Juwale?
Oh, very interesting. Now, you know what they call the growth curve.
I see.
When you're introducing something new, you expect to go through a lagging phase, then you'll accelerate, then you plateau. So what we are seeing is we are past the lagging phase.
Which was 2020?
Which is, the vaccination, which we started about 2 weeks ago. And the activities are picking up very well.
Yes.
As I speak now, we have crossed the 70,000 mark. And as we continue moving, the service points are now seeing more and more cases. Just to say this, last week in Kampala, our immunization points for vaccination, we are seeing less than 100 people per day. But the average we had for yesterday were from 300 to 500 per day. So the rate of vaccination is picking up steadily, and we are seeing the demand is increasing, and there are also modifications to the strategy for vaccination, which the Honorable Minister is going to announce by today, and this will accelerate the uptake.
So of course, these vaccinations, the 864,000 doses of the AstraZeneca jab that we have so far, are meant to vaccinate over 49.6% of the population, around 21.9 million people in the country. So far, how many people have you vaccinated? So
far, we have crossed the 60,000 mark in 2 weeks. And let me put the facts right. We got 964,000 doses, and we have made a decision to deploy these vaccines all as the first doses. And that has allowed us even to stretch the target populations which we started with. Now we are extending to other groups because more doses are available to get to other population groups which were not targeted. So as we speak now, the current position is that healthcare workers, teachers, security forces, and persons who are older than 50, and any person below 50 but with comorbidities who is eligible,
underlying illnesses,
and underlying illnesses, is now allowed to access the services. And this is going to accelerate the uptake of the services very significantly.
And of course, over the weekend, we did see a very, very miraculous scene, the president and the first lady getting inoculated. I was waiting for it for weeks and wondering, why isn't the president getting inoculated? Because in my opinion, I thought it would boost public confidence. And in your opinion, how do you think that simple fact with the president and the first lady getting inoculated will help boost the public confidence in the vaccine?
I was equally excited because
Yes.
the paradox. The vaccines are in short supply.
Yes.
So I think it would also not be good manners if the president came up to take the first few doses.
I see.
But I think in his judgment, he said, okay, the first priority are healthcare workers, let them go first. Now, what impressed me was the pressure the public was putting, that why are we not seeing our president
Indeed.
take the vaccine? Then he responded. Now, I am very shocked by the impact of that message, which was sent by the vaccination of the president, the vice president, the prime minister, and the deputy, the ministers, and also the members of parliament. You know, when you vaccinate the members of parliament, it plays a very strong advocacy message countrywide.
Not only an advocacy message, but also a safety message, because you had people who were reading convoluted messages coming in from all over the world on social media talking about how the AstraZeneca jab was dangerous and how it was being suspended in other countries. But then we did see these countries resume usage of the same vaccine. Go ahead in alleviating such or debunking such misinformation that seems to indicate that the AstraZeneca jab is actually dangerous to someone's health.
You know, being cautious with a health product which is on the introduced for the first market is a very, very normal survival instinct.
You expected the hesitancy.
We expected. And this has always been the case. So for Uganda, the week we launched was the week, very week, the European countries were suspending.
Indeed.
So that made our life more
really
difficult. And when they reinstated, up to now, some people are still on the mode that they have suspended. So now the task we have is to explain that they have resumed. So I think moving forward, I have seen the uptake in our universities, the uptake in our main other service delivery points, and even communities. Yesterday, I got a call from Rukunjiri. They have covered, they said, now give us additional vaccines. So the pressure on the stocks is increasing, but we should not also forget that we're 22 million people who need to be vaccinated from 18 above. But the doses we have received is less than 1 million. So when your group is recommended for access, you should seize that opportunity. Yeah, people should
also help us address those concerns that have also come about indicating that the AstraZeneca jab causes blood clots. Have you've only inoculated 60,000 people. Have you noticed any changes or any symptoms such as that has been touted on the global scene?
And now the side effects which we are picking are those which are well documented through the previous research. So these are side effects which we are seeing here. But the issue of the clots, as a standard measure, once you introduce a vaccine, you're deploying it in large numbers, so it is in our interest to ensure that nobody develops a side effect which was hitherto unknown. So you pick any event which is suspicious, you pick and investigate it to its logical conclusion. And that is how the clots story was picked. Yes, people died. Yes, it followed the immunization. But the investigation concluded that the assertion that it was the vaccine killing was wrong.
Indeed.
So that chapter has been closed, and the countries are resuming the vaccination.
Indeed.
And the conclusion was any concerns around safety were overweighed by the overall benefit because of the frequency of occurrence of the side effects. So the concerns have to be investigated. And Uganda, we also do the same.
Dr. Alfred Ruale, the Assistant Commissioner of Vaccines and Immunization at the Health Ministry, giving us first-hand information with regards to the COVID-19 vaccination that already took center stage in the country. The COVAX facility, Dr. Ruale, gave us some 964,000 doses. And you say there is now pressure on this batch of COVID-19 doses. So what kind of funding gaps are we dealing with to procure more vaccines and ensure the whole population is inoculated? 22 million people.
Now, I think the cabinet has taken decisions to close the funding gaps which were worrying us so much, at least from the management, from the level. Top management level. A decision at the policy level, a decision is already made that the doses we need, the resources will be mobilized. So I think now that's not where our problem is. Our problems have now shifted to the quantities of vaccines globally. The production does not match the demand. There are over 7 billion people who need these vaccines, yet the vaccines are produced in fewer factories, and countries which have more muscle, some of them have paid up front, and for most developing countries, they are struggling to access. Even if you have money, it's not obvious that you are going to access. You have to queue.
All right.
And that is the constraint we have.
All right, Dr. Driwale. How do you think the vaccine rollout will impact other essential primary healthcare services like the routine immunization?
Now, the design we are having is that we are moving progressively to integrating in the long run, because this vaccination is not like MRA campaign, which is going to be for 1 week. We are moving progressively. Towards the end, we will integrate these services. But at the moment, we started with the fewer teams so that other services continue. And we are progressively increasing those numbers at the same time to ensure that services are not interrupted. So we are aware of this, and we have put in place the measures to counter that possibility.
What key message do you have to the people who are waiting to be inoculated but were hesitant before, Dr. Driwale? Key message, camera one.
So I think the key message is that we are not an island.
Indeed.
In Kenya, we are seeing the third wave is peaking, and daily cases are now, they have crossed the 1,000 mark. And after 1 week, 1 month or 2 months, our epidemic is likely to peak. So this is a warning. So if you have an opportunity where you have been prioritized to vaccinate, it means you belong to the high-risk group. And high-risk groups should take the advantage of these stocks which we have to get the partial protection which the first dose confers on people. So my message is, please, that hesitancy is normal, but it should yield once you are given the appropriate information about the vaccines.
Great insights from Dr. Alfred Driwale. He is the Assistant Commissioner of Vaccines and Immunization and the Health Ministry. Many thanks for coming through to speak to the nation.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And of course, through the glass window of my studio,